Legal cases, legal issues, legal matters. You're watching WFTV's Law Talk with anchor Christopher Heath and expert legal analyst, attorney Mark NeJame.
All right, so let's talk about some of the current cases, issues, and legal matters that our viewers are talking about. Of course, joining me today is legal analyst Mark NeJame of the NeJame Law Firm. The Nikolas Cruz decision comes down, and he's convicted of killing 17 people in the Parkland shooting, and obviously death was on the table. The jury came back and was not unanimous, so he gets life in prison. That's the way things are here in Florida.
It's the way things are pretty much, well, now in the United States, that's the way things are in light of the court ruling that came down. Florida was one of the very few states that did not require unanimous jury in order to impose the death penalty. Remember, many states, half the states or whatever the percentage is now, don't even have the death penalty. And Florida, of course, does, and we were pretty notorious, particularly in previous years, of having the death penalty imposed frequently. Well, because of the injustices, because of the inequities, everything from racial to economic to just one set of facts being similar to another set of facts, and one gets death and one doesn't, the courts have said basically it's got to be unanimous. So that's where we find ourselves now in Florida.
And this gets into something that, and this may be a bit of a dumb question because you've heard a lot of politicians come out and say, that they really felt like he deserved to get the death penalty. But that's now, under the U.S. Constitution, that's off the table. There's no resentencing here.
Well, the Constitution has been interpreted, and the court rulings have interpreted that it needs to be unanimous. And that's just politicians talking. The reality of it is the courts will be the ones that exercise the determination in this particular area. And a lot of people think that the Cruz decision was an injustice because when you slaughter 17 children, there's hardly much that's more heinous than that. But with that said, there's inequities that happen all the time. We've seen it in our own backyard with some of the high-profile cases, and we have a system that we can't just run to politics every time we see a perceived injustice. We have to have consistency in our system, and we have to have regularity, and we have to have predictability to some degree, and that means that you can't say in one case, well, it can be unanimous, in another case it doesn't have to be unanimous. So in this particular case, the defense lawyers argued very effectively, obviously, that because of his Cruz's childhood, because of the trauma that he went through, that he deserved to be spared the death penalty. And 1, 2, 3 of the jurors, all it took is one, to make it non-unanimous, and accordingly the determination came out. And there's a big uproar over it, but like many other cases, people will pay attention to it, listen to it, but it will pass. This is the law.
And you mentioned that, and that's important to note. This is the bedrock of our criminal justice system. If you are accused of a crime, the state has to prove that you committed the crime, and then you will be judged by a jury of your peers. Right. And in this case, we're talking 12 people. And politicians may not like it, people may not like it. This is the system that we use, and it is fundamental to our democracy and to our criminal justice system that the jury's decision is upheld, and we put our faith in that jury.
Especially in capital cases. When the state is going to execute one of its citizens, regardless of what they did or didn't do, or are accused of doing, then it's really the epitome of making sure that you have a system that works, because you're having a state execution, a state-sanctioned, authorized execution. And so if you're going to do that, then you better be right, and you better make sure that every I is dotted, T is crossed. We've seen throughout history, I think in Chicago alone, they've been able to document over 50 executions, and it was, I think, one of the universities had gone back, that were innocent people. And so it does happen where innocent people, now we know in this particular case, it was so clear that he had done it. But what's unique about capital cases, death penalty cases specifically, is there's really two trials. You have the guilty or not guilty, but then you have the sentencing phase, which really takes on a whole other area, and only specialized lawyers who are specialized in death penalty cases are permitted to handle those types of cases. They have to have the experience and so on and so forth. And they present everything to the jury, again after there's been a determination of guilt. And they look at aggravating factors, mitigating factors. All those are weighed. They're presented to the jury. They go back in deliberations and make their recommendation. Is what they did. Exactly what was done here.
I know it's a weighty topic. Thank you, as always, for your expertise, and this is one that people are absolutely talking about. If you'd like to see this one again or any of our other law talks, visit our website, wftv.com/legal, or join us each week right here on Facebook. I'm Christopher Heath, and thank you for watching.
Thank you, Chris.
WFTV's Law Talk was brought courtesy of the Personal Injury and Accident Division of NeJame Law.